Welcome back to HU Spotlight. It's been a quiet offseason for Anthony Edwards since he led the team back to the Western Conference Finals in back-to-back seasons, but he hasn't quite broken through that championship game. Many folks are wanting him to take the next step, embrace being the face of the league. Edwards certainly has the chops to do it. He doesn't want to, and quite frankly, have we even seen the best of Anthony Edwards to this point? He's got over 10,000 career points already, third most all-time for a player before he turns 24. Ant-Man putting up prolific numbers as well for the Wolves, both in the regular season and in the playoffs. You're looking at some of those numbers there. But again, trying to take the next step and get a championship. That's what all these guys want. So let's talk about the Timberwolves as they get ready for the 2025 season later this year. And we've got John Gonzalez and Sam Quinn tapping back in with us here to talk about the team. Of course, we know Minnesota lost in 5 to the eventual champs of the Thunder in the Western Conference Final. And guys, we were kind of joking about Anthony Edwards. It's been a quiet offseason. That's a positive thing if you're Minnesota. But we wanted more from him in the postseason, right, John? Everyone kept talking about, oh, you know, like he's not being the star we've expected him to be. The points aren't happening. And I know he had some injuries mixed in as well. But as he turns the page to year 6, what are the expectations?
Yeah, I mean, he's set the bar pretty high here, though, Haley, right? I mean, because they made it to the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row, and he is still really young, and he was coming off a gold medal summer in the Olympics. I mean, we've talked about, and I know that Ann has said he doesn't want to be thought of as the face of the league or in contention for that, but he is one of those really young, up-and-coming superstars where you do want a lot for him. And when you make it to 2 straight Western Conference Finals, that kind of just goes with the territory, right? I mean, don't forget, last year they go into the postseason, and the Lakers are favored in that first round. Nah. Ant and the Wolves dispatched them in 5 games. Then they run into Golden State, and yes, Steph Curry got hurt, but still they had Jimmy Butler, they have Draymond Green. A lot of people, including myself, thought that the Warriors would win that series before Steph went down. Ant said, They move on again, and they get to the Western Conference Finals, and they run into the juggernaut of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Yeah, I'd still want more from Ant. I'm sure Ant wants more from himself, but so far, I mean, his career's been pretty good.
Yeah, I look at Anthony Edwards in every offseason. It seems like he adds something new to his game, right? 2 years ago, Minnesota has the #1 defense in the NBA. He takes a big leap on that end of the floor. Last year, obviously, it's the three-point shooting. He takes over 10 a game. So what can he add this year? I'm looking at 2 things, right? Playmaking, #1. He's hovered around like 4 or 5 assists per game in the last few years, like during his ascension to stardom. Can he get up to like 6 or 7, play a little bit more like, say, a Jason Tatum, who wasn't initially much of a playmaker, but really grew into that role as Boston started to get better? Can he improve a little bit as a mid-range shot maker, right? Like, it's not that he's bad there. It's that so much of the last few years has been improving as a three-point shooter. His shot profile now is very, very efficient, but you get deep into the playoffs, you play against a defense like Oklahoma City, you sort of have to take the shots that they give you, and more often than not, those are going to be in the mid-range. So those are 2 areas that I hope that he can still improve on, but he's only going into, I believe, year 6 here. So I'm very optimistic that he can continue to improve. If he does, like, why can't it be 3 straight trips to the Western Conference Finals?
That's always the thing with Anthony Edwards, is we've seen him just grow each and every year. The potential is there, and he just keeps getting better. I think what we saw last year, though, gentlemen, was that he didn't have to do it alone, at least, you know, to get to the Western Conference Finals. He got great supporting cast work there from Julius Randle and the eventual 6th Man of the Year in Naz Reid. Both of those guys getting extension. So, Sam, when you look at where the Timberwolves are right now, back-to-back Western Conference Finals appearances, locking up some of those key pieces, what does this offseason tell you about their chances to do that next year?
Well, remember, they did try to trade for Kevin Durant, right? If Kevin Durant had wanted to be a Timberwolf, I think there's a very good chance that he would be a Timberwolf right now. He didn't, so they kind of just kept the band together, right? They lost Nickeil Alexander-Walker. That was inevitable. They had to avoid the second apron just given where they were financially, but they keep Julius Randle. They keep Naz Reid. I think what they're looking for going into the season, can Terrence Shannon Jr., who had a very good summer league, and Rob Dillingham, who was the #8 pick in the 2024 draft, can they ascend into bigger roles with Mike Conley kind of aging, with Alexander Walker gone? Can you get the natural development that keeps you where you were? And that's all you really need to do, right? I don't think organically this roster is going to be good enough to compete with Oklahoma City, but they have a very creative general manager who's very aggressive in Tim Connolly. If the next Kevin Durant, whoever that is a little bit more open-minded about playing in Minnesota, maybe then with these young guys coming up, you have the trade chips to make that aggressive push. Right now, they're just too far below below Oklahoma City to compete organically, but you improve enough, maybe then you're close enough to take that strike in the trade market.
Yeah, I thought their offseason was fine, right, for what Tim Connolly is trying to accomplish, Haley. I mean, Sam and I have talked about this previously. If we're looking at this and we're being realistic, we were talking about, well, maybe it's a situation where Tim Connolly and the Timberwolves should really take like a gap year or two and sort of reset this thing on the fly because, as Sam mentioned, they're not as good as Oklahoma City. They're not as good as the Rockets or the Nuggets on paper. But really, when you have Ant in his prime and he's an all-NBA player and you want to keep him happy and he's a young ascendant star, you really can't do that. So they went into this offseason basically in a pick 2 of 3 situation with Naz Reid, Julius Randle, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, with Nickeil Alexander-Walker ending up as the odd man out. I understand that choice. He's off to the Hawks. The Hawks will be very happy with him, and they signed Reid and Randle for the long term. The only thing that I was looking at beyond that is now you're getting a lot more Terrence Shannon, Rob Dillingham, Jalen Clark moving forward, and they really haven't addressed their like Mike Conley size problem here. And I love Mike Conley. He's a great dude. He's a consummate professional, but he's getting older, and he had a really down year last year, and he was still a starter. Maybe they elevate Dante DiVincenzo into the starting lineup, although he didn't have a great shooting year either, and they need him for a bench boost. So they've got a little bit of a guard problem next to Ant that they've got to work out, but ultimately it's going to be, can they get hot in the playoffs and make a run? They did it the last 2 years. We'll see if they can do it in the third straight year.
You know, both of you guys keep bringing up Terrence Shannon, so I guess that's where we should go next in this conversation. You go from having your jersey retired at your alma mater, upside down, by the way, when he went back to his college program, to being the star of Summer League play out in Vegas. I mean, Sam, you were very high on Terrence. You think he could maybe crack into the starting rotation this year?
Yeah, he's a scorer, right? I think he's a different kind of player filling in for Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is very much that like classical 3-and-D archetype, not great on the ball, but a very good supporting player. I think your hope with Terrence Shannon and with Rob Dillingham as well is that one of them can grow into like a really good secondary scorer that you can put next to Anthony Edwards so he has a little bit less pressure on him. Let Anthony Edwards focus on playmaking as he tries to improve on that front. I was very, very impressed with what I saw out of Terrence Shannon in Summer League. I think there's a good chance that even if he's not going to start the year as a starter, right? Dante DiVincenzo, just more of a veteran. He has a easier to fit in skill set as a three-point shooter. Probably gets the nod early if it's not Mike Conley. But over the course of the season, I think Shannon will have every opportunity to prove that he deserves a bigger role, whether that's more minutes off the bench or even a starting job. I think the Timberwolves are really hoping that he can grow into a core player for them. So if he proves it on the court, they'll give him the chance.
We saw the numbers up there. Averaged over 22 points per game. He shot almost 40% as well from deep. So obviously a big situation and a big boost on offense he can be going into the year. Looking at your offseason grades, you both kind of on the same page there. John, you gave them a B. Sam, you gave them a C+. So as we look ahead to the Minnesota Timberwolves and their season in 2025, John, I'll give you first word here. What are the expectations and how far do you see them going?
Yeah, I mean, if you're the Wolves, you're expecting that you want to get back to the Western Conference Finals and then get to the finals finally. The problem is the West is, and we say this every year, but it becomes true and truer every year, is that the West is so loaded. I mean, you have the defending champs, the Oklahoma City Thunder, at the top of the West. Then you've got the Rockets, who signed KD. They improved by adding Dorian Finney-Smith and Clint Capella. They're absolutely loaded, one of the deepest teams in the NBA. Then you've got the Nuggets, who took Oklahoma City to 7 games. And by the way, they got much better. There's a parallel universe where the Nuggets could have unseated Oklahoma City. Now all of a sudden they go into it loaded with a much better bench because they bring back Bruce Brown, Tim Hardaway, Jonas Valanciunas behind Joker. So it's just like there's a lot of teams in front of the Wolves. The Wolves finished with the 6th seed last year. I'm going to go back to the 6th seed this year. Maybe it's a little disrespect considering that they have made 2 straight Western Conference Finals. I just think that the glut of teams, the amount of talent in the West is going to be really hard for them to overcome. They went on those runs last year. The caveat is I said that they were going to lose in the first round last year, and I was wrong about that. So Wolves fans, I have them with the 6th seed and a first round loss, but prove me wrong again.
Yeah, John, you read my mind, right? They were the 6th seed last year, and I know they made the Western Conference Finals, but there's a pretty big asterisk on that considering they played the Warriors without Stephen Curry. I think they're more like a first, second round team. I have them as the 6th seed again behind those teams that you mentioned, Oklahoma City, Houston, Denver, and then the 2 LA teams. I think they'll probably lose in the first round. But we talked about this being something of a gap year, right? They're not going to tank, but it's a year in which they've lost Alexander Walker. They're breaking these younger guys into the rotation. I think they're still kind of figuring out what the next 3-4 years are going to look like. If you win 48, 50 games, something in that range, you make the playoffs, lose in the first round, but you've developed your young guys. I still think that can be a win of a season. So I'm not focusing solely on getting back to the Western Conference Finals. I'm thinking a lot more about developing those young guys. If they do, it'll be a good season no matter where their season ends.
John, you're going to have to cover your notes the next time you're on a segment with Sam Quinn there. You guys finding the same outcome when it comes to the Minnesota Timberwolves in 2025. Guys, we appreciate the time. Basketball season will be here before we know it. I know we're talking a lot of football. But keep your eye on the Thunder, of course, because the reigning champs are looking to run it back, and Vegas agrees that they are on track to do so at plus 230. We talked about the Timberwolves, though. 18-1 odds to get to the NBA Finals. That's not a bad deal if you are Anthony Edwards, but we will see if they can take that next step this season.